Chapter 4, we're going to work with preparing a chart of accounts and posting into our general ledger. But to start with, Lesson 4-1, this is preparing a chart of accounts. If only a journal is used, a business must search through all the journal pages to find out items affecting a single account balance. For this reason, a form is used to summarize in one place all the changes that happen to a single account. A separate account form is used for each account. This is what your account form looks like. Information needed to trace back an entry into a journal page. So you're going to have something that looks like that. The T account, you can see the debit side, the credit side, and this is where you're going to transfer numbers into this account, and then you'll have balance columns so that each account will be brought up to date. So every day you know exactly how much is in each account. A list of accounts used by a business is called a chart of accounts, and this is what our chart of accounts look like. And we've seen this before. On the left side, you have financial statements that report assets, liabilities, and owner's equity on a specific date. These are called your balance sheet accounts. And you can see by the title up here, balance sheet accounts, and they are going to be recording your assets, your liabilities, and your owner's equity, or on the left side of our chart of accounts. On the right side of our chart of accounts, we have what are called income statement accounts. And these are financial statements showing the revenue and expenses for a fiscal period. You have two sides of your chart of accounts. Account numbers, when you start assigning account numbers, they aren't just random. The first number, the number 1 here, is your general ledger division. Your second two numbers is your location within your general ledger division. If you look at your assets are in the hundreds, and for this business they use hundreds. As you get into larger business, they might use the numbers in the thousands, but right now you are using the hundred system. Your balance sheet, the first section is your assets, so you can see they all have number 1s, and then their location within their assets. It's how liquid your assets are. Cash is pretty liquid, meaning that you can turn something into cash real quick if you need the cash. So your cash is always the first one in your assets. And then you will number them by tens in case you need to slip another account in there. Petty cash we haven't covered yet. That would be your second most liquid in your list. Your third would be your accounts receivable, because you could go out and get the money from those customers at any time. Your fourth is your supplies, and then your prepaid insurance. Your second group is your liabilities, and they will be your 200s. If you look at your accounts payable, they are alphabetically by your vendors' names. Supply comes before Thomas, and again, you will do it in the tens, 210, 220. The third section is your owner's equity, and they are always capital, drawing, and then we'll get to the other one later on. But your capital account always comes first, and it will be 310. Your drawing will be 320. Then you have your income statement accounts. That is your fourth division, or your 400s, which is revenue. We only have one account in this division, and that'll be 410, which is sales. The 500s then are your expenses, and you will see that you have a number of expenses, 1 through 6 expenses, and you will notice that they are alphabetized. So advertising be 110, insurance 120, and so forth down the line. So your chart of accounts looks like this right here. When you open an account in a general ledger, each account will have an account form in the general ledger. And again, we took a look at this before, the date, the item, post-reference for cross-referencing. This is where you're going to transfer the number and then we will figure out the balance. But for right now, to open a general ledger account, there are two steps. You're going to write the account title and you're going to write the account number, and that's opening your account. Right now, since we are starting a new business, none of your accounts will have balances as of right now. A group of accounts is called a ledger. So once you put them all together, they are a ledger. A general ledger is a ledger that contains all accounts needed to prepare financial statements. An account number is the number assigned to an account, and the procedure for arranging accounts in a general ledger, assigning account numbers, and keeping records current is called file maintenance. When you open an account, you write the account title and the number on the heading of an account. Now we'll just take a quick look at a chart of accounts example. For example, we would write, if we had a chart of accounts that we were preparing, we would write the title at the top, the name of the document, our chart of accounts, and then we would write our balance sheet accounts. Remember, we would write our assets would be the hundreds, liabilities would be the 200s, and you can see that with your accounts receivable, they are alphabetized by the individual's last name, where when you get to your liabilities, since it's a business, you alphabetize them by the business name. The 300s would be our owner's equity. Our income statement accounts would include the revenue, 410 for sales. Expenses, again, they would be listed according to how they are alphabetized. If we were assigning new numbers and we would do postage and utility expenses, you can see that on the right side, our income statement accounts from our chart of accounts, postage expense would fit between right in here, so between M and R, so therefore it would have the account number 535. Utility expense was fit at the end, so therefore it would have the next number in line. Next, I'm going to show you an example of the work together and how to do that. Okay, on step 1 of Working Papers 401, it says Parker Ross owns a service business called Ross Hair Care, and it uses these accounts. In order to create a chart of accounts, you must first classify each one. Accounts payable, that is a liability. Accounts receivable, an asset. Prepaid insurance is an asset. Your drawing account would be owner's equity. Your expense account would be expenses. Your capital account would be owner's equity. Your cash would be asset. Sales would be revenue. Supplies is an asset. Delivery expense is an expense. Accounts payable is a liability, and accounts receivable is an asset. So once you have graded step 1, you will continue to the next step. On this one here, now that you have classified each one into their own account, you must assign numbers so that each accounts receivable, payable, and expense accounts are in alphabetical order by last name. Okay, so you'll go through your assets and you're going to classify them according to how liquid they are. So our first asset would be cash. Our second ones would be our accounts receivable. We have G. Seidler and T. Ryan. Ryan comes before Seidler. So our next account would be 120. Accounts receivable, 130. Our prepaid insurance and supplies, our next account that we could turn into cash easily would be our supplies, which would be 140, and our prepaid insurance, 150. Our liabilities, on the other hand, they are business names, and so alphabetically, the E comes in front of the P alphabetically. So this would be our 210 and our 220. Our equity account, our capital account always comes first, and our drawing account second. Revenue, the first account would be 410. Our expenses alphabetically would be delivery expense, insurance, supplies, and then telephone. And then it tells on our next step is it says Mr. Ross had been classifying fuel costs as delivery expenses, now found that the amount paid each month for gasoline has become a major expense and has decided to use a separate account called gasoline expense. Also, a new account, water expenses, to be added to the chart of accounts. Account number what should be for gasoline expense? Alphabetically, where are you going to put gasoline expense? It would fit between your delivery and your insurance, so it would have to be 515. Account number what should be assigned to your water expense? Since that is going to go to the end alphabetically, that one has to be 550. A blank general ledger account is shown here with locations identified by numbers. Use the numbers to answer the questions to open up delivery expense. So what value is entered in location 1? You are going to put and the value that's going to go into delivery expense is 510. And that is your work together problem. Now underneath lesson 4-1, end of lesson review, complete the term review, the audit your understanding, and your working papers. You should have completed work together and on your own under the working papers.